So today we're going to take a look at Mech and some of their defensive setups, because they probably are the best defensive team in the world, or they certainly have been for large parts of Valorant's history. And you can just straight up steal some of their ideas, because they're really, really good. And I wanted to show them to you. And we'll start here with round number 2 on Fracture. And we'll actually look at both maps, that they played against BBL. And round 2, as you can see here, BBL have, despite losing the pistol, they're deciding to force up to it. And, they're going to try and win this round. So this is a pretty important round, this round 2, now that BBL have decided to, go for it, essentially, and try and win this round. So let's take a look at what they do. And we start here with the Sage. So we start with an early Brim smoke there, and actually going to throw a Sage slow down here as well. They're going to progress towards Dish with these two players, and they have the Cypher set up towards A main with this camera, checking that anyone's there. So they send this kind of early slow and smoke, kind of to feign almost pressure that they might be coming down there. And then they Sage wall across here as well, okay? So that's just going to delay any early BBL pressure, and it does just that, right? And so BBL eventually kind of come past this smoke, and you might just see there that we've got the Brim here just jump spotting that angle, and so the Chronicle here sees the neon there, and so what that allows this setup to do is you get the info that people are here, and now the Sage can just focus on them, right? Like, they've seen the Brim, so they're probably thinking about, how they're going to attack tower and whatnot. But this Sage, because the Sage wall is up and you got the Cypher trip there, is just extra support as well. Like, there is no worry coming from towards the stairs here. There is just, just fully focused on these players here. And that's exactly what is going to happen, because as we come to Shados here, he will send in that Sage slow, and that's going to isolate Kushner from the rest of his team, and he's going to find the first kill there, does Shados. So now, BBL, they try to come in onto the site, but what we're going to see is they actually start destroying the Sage wall on the other side. And so Shados, he's kind of looking around to see, have they actually progressed? They put down this Brim smoke from Chronicle, which, denies this line of sight. So Shados feels comfortable in actually attacking this Brim when this wall goes down, as you will see here. So a nice little drive-by there from Shados gets them another kill. But now Shados is actually going to die on sight, but Chronicle is going to win this fight. But also something that Chronicle has done is put down this smoke. You might be counting the smokes here and being like, oh, that's a lot of smokes. But it's because one of these here, this is actually Chronicle's smoke. So a defensive smoke here in tower, which you might think that's a bit weird. Why on earth would you do that? Well, we need to think about the possibilities of this smoke, because it caused a lot of problems for BBL in this game, as we will see later in this round. But just in general, this is kind of a sort of genius idea. I've talked about smokes like deep in onto site before. It's kind of a great way for defenders to just live on site and cause chaos. And that's exactly what's happening here, because if Chronicle can hold tower, this smoke is going to cause a lot of problems for them, right? It kind of allows him to live. Even if he has to give up this initial part of tower, he can just hide behind the smoke, right? There's a lot of possibilities with this smoke that allow him to live. And if you're coming in onto this B site, but you don't have tower control, that's a big problem, because now you have to focus about this. You're probably worried about maybe the flank coming here, and also if they're coming from all the way back here, like, you're in massive trouble if you're on that site and you don't have tower control, right? So that's why this smoke is just so good, because, I mean, you can hide in the left-hand side of it, you can hide on this side of it as well, so if a player did come up here, like, you have to worry about both sides. It just causes nightmares for attackers in terms of, like, just creating a big question mark of what's going on in there, right? Because as this round progresses and these two players come to site, Chronicle could have come down here, right? That's a very logical thing to do. But he also could just be right there waiting for them. And so they don't know how to deal with that situation. And in this game, BBL, I don't think really had an answer to the smoke. You see these players come in, you see that they kind of look at it and think like, oh, there's probably someone in there. The smoke eventually drops, but they aren't looking at Chronicle, and he is able to get those final 2 kills. And so that smoke, something that I don't think I've ever seen a team do before, but again, it just gives you so many options as the defender to just play around with that smoke, be on both sides of it, and find potential kills, free kills like Chronicle did there. And now let's come to round number 6, and there's a minute 3 left in this round. Not much has happened to this point, BBL have just been kind of, walking around the map, seeing what's going on, kind of checking everything out that the defenders might be doing, and so they haven't made too much progress just yet. But actually, Mech are going to get a bit aggressive here. They have a Sage wall up towards Dish side, and so they're going to send out this stun here and get Defo and Shados peeking up with it. But Aslan does really well to avoid the stun there and then get this next kill. The thing is, though, there's really no way he can ever expect that Defo would already be pushed up into this corner, and so Defo is able to get that kill. And then he's going to ult, and I think a lot of people might think that this is a pretty weird ult, right? Because because there is no one there. But the thing is, you have to think about Defo's situation and also the context of this game. The BBL had been running kind of a lot of, just site executes and things like that, grouping up quite often. So I think that is why Defo kind of, felt the need to go for this ult, because if he's trapped in this corner and there is 3 people, towards this, or even 2 people really, he's gonna die, and they know where he is, they're gonna use utility, he's gonna die. So his thought process here is, well, I'll use the ult, and if there isn't anyone there, that's fine. We'll have taken all of this control, which is perfectly reasonable. And if there are people there, I can potentially turn a situation where I would die into a situation where I'm getting like 2 kills maybe. So that it looks like a weird ult, but I think it's not really the weirdest decision I've ever seen. And he just lets it go, right? And he doesn't get super aggressive with it either. He's kind of just happy with the control that he's got, because they don't really have too much info. And we actually see BBL trying to run a bit of a fake there with the breach utility towards tower, but Mech are pretty unmoved by that. They have a lot of discipline. You can't expect to run a lot of fakes very successfully against them, because they are a very disciplined team. But now we see the advantage of using that Razor is the Defo is pretty sure there's no one behind him here, and so they have just full A main control with the spike going down on A, which is a huge advantage really if you are the defenders. And so what they're going to do here is go for they don't want this spike to go down even, because they are going to send in this breach ult before it goes down. They see that the time, there's only 23 seconds left. They have Defo in this position, so they're thinking, with a breach ult he can get a couple kills and just win this round right now, right? And so that's what they try and do. So they send in the breach ult. This is really, really nice, because they also send in the Brim ult onto the site just here. So they send their Brim ult here. BBL, really nice reaction from them as well to send in their Brim ult and their breach ult as well, as you can see here. So they're trying to, stop these players from, getting towards these players. But Defo, it really is going to come down to Defo, because he's kind of the one person who isn't affected by any of this. And he sent in this nade as well, which banks off perfectly. So you see, we've got the Brim ult all the way over here, and then this nade is going to land in here. So really the Sage has nowhere to go, and Defo actually finds the kill just off the back of his gun there as he's charging in. The problem is he doesn't expect the Neon to be there as well. So the Neon is here on his right hand side. He knows that the ult from the breach has come from Dish, so he knows that people are there, so that's what he's looking at. And the Neon actually manages to kill him because he's looking the wrong way. So BBL actually will get the spike down here. Chronicle gets pretty unlucky in the fact that this is a Neon, and so she's able to run away there. But they get a really nice little breach aftershock in here. But Pora is able to get 1 kill before Nats is able to trade it out. So we end up in a 2v2. And this is and we were talking about this on my stream. Like, this was a super interesting position for AIM DLL here, because it's such a tricky spot, right? This is a really, really tricky spot to play as the attackers, because you're up here in the smoke. They seem to have a decent idea that the Brim was here in this smoke. They know that the Neon is probably an A main as well. The spike is planted in not a great position for them either, behind that box. So a really difficult position to play for BBL. And you'll see that they don't quite manage to find it, right? And I think the correct play here is maybe the Brim just jumping out as a kind of distraction and hoping that Kushner can find 2 off the back of that, because it's such a tough spot to be in, right? The spike's not planted for them. He has to jump out of that smoke at some point. Like, yeah, it's just a very tricky situation to be in. But Mech managed to find the win there with again some nice ult usage, some nice utility usage, and finding those kills. And now let's come to round number 11. I don't often show the start of a round, or before the round starts, I should say, but here we have to, because we have to take a look at these Nats Cypher trips that he's putting down, particularly that one, because that one's kind of wild. But yes, Nats, some of you may know him as No Access to Site, a Riot Run experiment. And yeah, he is just the Cypher King. And that was very much the case in this round as well. Now, we can actually run this round a little bit faster to start off with, because BBL are going to take their time, but eventually they are going to come in towards that B site. Well, actually, you're going to get Chronicle and Nats here, both playing very passive, right? But I think if you are going to play Cypher, Nats, just watch Nats play Cypher, because you'll get better at playing Cypher if you just watch him play it, because he is the best in the world at it. But here they come, right? BBL, they start coming in onto this site here, and in they come. But let's just watch Nats, right? Because they're behind these smokes at this point. But these trips, there goes one. There's one death, right? And then we're actually going to switch POV here, but we'll see as well that as we turn here, Aslan runs into the second trip as well. And guess what his fate is as well? Oh, look, he dies to Nats. So both trips end up getting kills in this round, which is absolutely absurd. And literally, Nats, with those 2 Cypher Trips, won them this round, right? Just hiding in behind the smokes. They get a trade here down at the bottom. Pora hits a nice shot there. And then they actually managed to get a res, and so we end up in a 4v2, but Pora hits a nice shot again, but then Chronicle is eventually able to trade it out as he swings with the raise nade coming in there, right? Like, so he's swinging with the utility, quite nice, and then we end up in a 3v1, and Kushner is able to get Chronicle, who is on like no health, but then Shados is able to trade that out as well. Really nice round on the whole, and we see just the most disgusting Cypher play perhaps I've seen in quite some time. And now let's move on to Breeze, though. And again, we're going to see an absurdly good round here from the side of Mech, and just the art of delay. Delay and isolate from Nats in particular, but also coming in from just the whole team, really. It's really, really good, because BBL, they're just going to push in here, right? And so Nats, he's on this middle pillar here. They ping him, they see him, as you can see, and he actually is going to get suppressed, but he shoots out that Viper Molly just before he gets suppressed, and that's big, right? Because the side of BBL, they don't want to go in, you know, past this Viper Molly here. They don't want to get vulnerable and get spammed through it and whatnot, and so they feel like they can't, right? And then we're going to get this Sova Dart here. And this Sova Dart is really, really powerful. These kind of Sova Darts are super, super powerful, right? Because the thing is, BBL can't destroy this Sova Dart without actually getting forward in onto the site. So even if no one gets pinged, it kind of does give you info that if this is not getting destroyed, that means that they're not past this point, right? So there is still info even if no one is getting pinged by it. And the thing is, BBL can't progress without destroying this Sova Dart, because they can't just run out here, even with their own Viper Wall up, right? They're all just going to get lit up by this dart. And it's even more impressive when you look at this map and realize that the Sova is over here, because this dart has actually come in all the way from here and looped across the entire map to land right there. That makes it even more impressive that they've done this, right? It's absurd. And these darts, and you'll see it in this game, are so strong, and it just stops, again, it's just delay. It's basically a delay dart, and it stops BBL. And the thing is, whilst they do manage to get to this point, they can't get the spike down because the wall is about to run out on their attacking side, right? So they can't really afford to plant now with no protection of their own Viper Wall. So you see the KO is just kind of staying there, right? They send in the defensive drone as well. That gets a ping there. And now with the attacking Viper Wall back up, they go, okay, now's the time to plant. But the thing is, we're just going to get something really nice. You see Nat is hugging the side of the wall here. They're going to send a flash down here from the sky, as you can see. Nat swings with it because he knows that there should be someone here protecting the spike, right? To protect from this swing. So that's why they send out the flash, so that he can just get this kill and then flash. And even if Nats gets flashed himself, he knows he just has to run to the right to get behind the attacking Viper Wall again, and they'll be fine, right? And it works perfectly. He gets the kill. He's able to disappear behind the wall again, and they are fine, right? And then he knows where this player is now, protecting the spike, so they get another kill. They're sectioned off by his Viper Wall now. You know, we've got the attackers behind the wall who are like, oh, we'll be in a post plant, we'll be fine. And we've got the people over here who are now isolated. It's just so good. And then they swing together here as well and find a nice trade there on Turco. And then we end up in this 1v3 after we get that kill there, which we can run a bit quicker. But yeah, everything about this round, right? The dart lineup is obviously pretty absurd. But then, you know, how Nats played it as well was super good. The coordination of Shados, as we see him just jump across there. And Chronicle manages to get that kill as well for Mech and win the round. Just a really absurdly good round from them. And I mentioned the power of those Sova Darts, where you have to basically enter in onto the site to just destroy them. Well, now let's take a look at around what happens when you don't destroy them, because this is absurd. So what's actually going to happen here is Redgar's going to drone early. This is something that they were doing a lot, and I think the reason was so that he could use those kind of Sova Darts where, you know, they're stuck onto like the start of a site, and they're just going to reveal everyone if you do want to go for site execute. So you see Redgar sees them there. He sends in a shock dart as well. Obviously, with the neon wall not doing damage, Defo goes peeking in. He only finds one, but the thing is, we have a Sova Dart on top of this archway here. You can just sort of see the circle of it there, but basically this Sova Dart is just up here, right? And just take a look at this, because everyone is going to get scanned. Look at Shados' POV. 3 people get revealed by it. So he just starts spamming in. And then he gets another reveal on top of that. Redgar gets one and traded out. But because Shados knows exactly where they are and he's just spamming into it, he's able to get all of those kills. And that's the thing. These Sova Darts are so good that if a team has decided to just let go, they are going to get mowed down because you can just see where they all are exactly at the right time. And so, again, just mech's preparation. They seem to have a very good idea what BBL were going to do as well, who were a kind of, execute heavy, particularly in this game. They went for a lot of just straight executes. Let's just run it. And it worked very well for mech, right? Because the saving those Sova dots for that in particular worked very, very well. And finally, let's come to round number 12, where we're going to see the importance of timing for these attacking rounds and how if you can disrupt that timing, it really is beneficial for the defenders. And this round, we're going to start off really focusing here on Shados because he's going to dog from back here. Crucial thing is why he's going to dog from back there is to avoid this KO knife, which comes in here very often. So he actually does it from much deeper, as you can see. And so the dog is going down there towards BBL. And as you can see, we've got Defo coming with it. Now, he actually misses this shot, right, and dashes away. But the thing is, then we're also going to get the Sky ult. And that really is just going to delay, though, because you can see that Aslan on the Neon here, he's already opening the door. But the thing is, these players in main are just not ready, right? They still need to clear out to make sure that, for instance, that no one has pushed down here, right? They need to make sure that no one actually is snuck down there because they don't know. They're still behind this jet smoke for now. They've got these Sky ults coming towards them as well, so they don't want to go, into that just blindly as well. So they are just getting delayed, and they just have to stay there. The thing is, though, because of that delay, Aslan basically ends up peeking on his own, right? Ideally, what you would want is that pressure is coming from this way so that when the door opens, Aslan is finding, like, people just facing this way, free kills. But because, of everything that they planned out, the Skydog being, back away from the KO knife, the Sky ults slowing them down, Defo's just able to get a free kill on him. And then even there's enough time for Kushner, who's probably thinking that, again, those players now would be ready. They're still not ready, and Shados is able to get that kill. And then we turn to, look, we haven't even droned out yet, right? We aren't even ready for this at all because the delay had come in so much. So eventually those three players start to come in onto the site. But we're going to get a really nice little Sky Flash coming through from Shados, and he's able to get the Viper there, but does get traded out. But now with no Viper, well, these players are kind of screwed. Defo gets one, and Turco is going to do pretty well here to find a couple nice shot there, but we get a nice little Viper Molly right onto Turco here from Nats, and then Chronicle just spams him through the wall, and we get a nice little round win there for Mech. And you can just see that some of their defensive preparation, they seem to have a very good idea what BBL were going to do against them, and they had some very good ideas for how to counter that as well. And you just see like the discipline and everything that goes into it. Like they just seem to know exactly what to do in pretty much all scenarios, and it works very well for them, as you can see.